Hello everyone, I'm Asada. Title of my talk today is Affective Architecture, Pain, Empathy, and Ethics. The broad range of topics are included. I believe that the affective aspect or affective computing is very important to support the cognitive computations or cognitive architectures. So I'm a professor of Osaka University and also the president of the Robotics Society of Japan and vice president of the Japanese Society of the Baby Science. Why am I related to baby science? My answer is a very simple one. So we like to, we like to make the robot much more intelligent. But what's the intelligence? That's a big issues. So therefore, we may learn from the baby development. On the other hand, there are many mysteries in the baby development. Therefore, we like to apply our approach, the concept approach of the robot experiment and the computer simulation to reveal these mysteries. Also, I'm one of the founders of the RoboCup. This time, the workshop is organized by the people in the Bremen and also the jury. So actually, we held the RoboCup 2006 in Bremen. It was very successful. This shows the outline of my talk today. So pain, the biological pain nervous system, the soft tactile sensor for the robot pain sensation, pain as a context signal for the behavior learning. Second part is empathy, the mirror neural system, the predictive learning, and the empathy development. The third part is ethics. So I like to introduce the moral tribes by Joshua Green and the virtual ethics and the silicopathy. This time I like to propose and new ethics. Finally, summary and the future issues. Okay, first of all, I'd like to explain our nervous system in the brain and body. So there are pain pathways. There are two distinct aspects of the experience of the pain. The anterolateral system supplies information to different parts of the brain stem and forebrain that contribute to the different aspects of the experience of the pain. The first one is the sensor discriminate part. So what kind of, how much, and where, this kind of information comes up from peripheral to the central nervous system, the somatosensory cortex, S1 and S2. The second part is affective and the motivational aspect, such as the quality of pain, the memory of pain, or the emotional part of something. So amygdala, the anterior cingulate cortex, and the insular cortex are included. As you can see that there are pathways, the ascending pathways from peripheral to the central nervous system to transfer the information about the pain sensation. On the other hand, also the descending pathway, the central nervous system modulate the pain sensation, sometimes reduce the pain, but sometimes increase and so on. So as a preliminary experiment, we developed the soft tactile sensors that's very robust. But this shows indicates the force signal of the 3-axis in terms of 3-axis, and also the hammer touching. So you can see you can easily discriminate soft touch like this one and hard touch. That's very sharp the signal way. So the biologically, when we can discriminate the pain from touch, so nociceptive neurons develop to form the modality-specific connections, touch or pain. And the researchers found that some specific neural circuit necessary for discrimination between touch and nociception emerge from 35 to 37 weeks gestation in the human brain based on the EEG measurement. Based on these knowledge and findings, we can consider that some early stage of the pain experience like this one, the vision and touch and pain and the sensor signal, and the brain regions such as the somatosensory cortex, amygdala, and the ACC and the anti-insular. And also the hippocampus is very important for the memory of the pain and the motor area to learning some pain relief behaviors such as avoiding and rubbing. The Ben Seymour proposed pain as a precision signal for the reinforcement learning and control. He mentioned that the core function of the pain is motivational to direct both short and long-term behavior away from harm. So he proposed a reinforcement learning model, and he supposed that pain as a precise and objectifiable control signal. Now, this shows his proposal of the architecture of the recent learning pain as a pressure signal for the recent learning and control. So it seems to work, but there are no explicit representations of pain itself. And also, what he has not considered about the empathic behavior from pain. So the second part is empathy, how the empathy happen. So the important part is the mirror neurons and the mirror neuron systems. So that originally found in the monkey's premotor cortex, and they study both when executing and also when observing the same actions. They understand the other's action and the intention based on the self-motor representations. We proposed the predict learning for the development of the mirror neuron system. So predict learning to integrate the sensory motor signals enable the robot to recall own motor experience while observing the other's action as well as to produce the action. That's the mirror neuron system. So what we are using a predictor using the deep autoencoder and about the action production learn to reconstruct the visual information V, tactile information U, and the motor signals M. In case of the action observation, predict the V using the imaginary U and M as well as the actual V, the more accurate prediction of the V. As you can see, the left part is the image, the predict the image of the situations. So this case is the mirror neuron system for the action, but not only the action, but also sensation and perception happen. That's the typical example in the touching site. The researchers found that using the function MRI, secondary, but not the primary somatosensory cortex, is activated both when the participant were touched and when they observed someone or something else getting touched by object. So this is a case of the touching, but the similar situation happen also in the case of the pain. So one of the big issues is the memory of the pain. That's a still big mystery. The researcher found that the learning mechanisms within the limbic circuitry give rise to the transition from acute to chronic pain and render the pain more emotional one. E and Jan found that the chronic pain is a type of a nociceptive memory, and Eto et al. Suppose the idea that pain is a network by multiple pathways at cortical, subcortical, spinal, and peripheral levels. And Price AM found that striking resemblance to the molecular mechanisms involved in the learning and memory process in other brain regions, including the hippocampus and the cerebral cortex. So that means that the pain itself is a kind of the memory system and still the big mystery. So based on the empathic part, we can consider some sharing of the pain experience with others. So in addition to the architecture of the self-experience of pain, we add the development of the mirror neuron system, and then therefore the emotional state of the self and the other, and also hippocampus of the episodic memory of the pain situation of self and others. And the motor area is pain relief behavior learning, avoiding or rubbing to others. So the key point is the empathic behavior may happen, but what's the empathy? So the Franz de Bow proposed some evolution of the empathy, starting the emotional contagion to the empathy, in pair with motor mimicry and imitations. I proposed the conceptual model of the empathy development. Based on the mirror neuron system, the emotional contagion happen, and also the emotional empathy and the cognitive empathy develops. Through the emotional regulation, sympathy and compassion happen. And after that, in-group out-group cognition and the metacognition are possible. Okay. So this is a conceptual model of the empathy development, but this is also related to ethics. For the ethics, I just try to introduce the book, The Moral Tribes by Joshua Green. He mentioned that we human beings have the two modes of the ethical behavior. First one is auto mode for inside the group, so automatic based on the rules already obtained. The second part is manual mode for the not against it, okay? Anyhow, the manual mode for the outside the group. The human brain's manual mode is its capacity for the deliberate the reasoning, which makes our thinking flexible. Our point and shoot emotions make us social animals that turning me into us. But sometimes in case of the humans, the auto mode and the manual mode and the conflict each other. So sometimes it's difficult to control what switch the two modes. To overcome these issues, the Beyond the Moral Tribes are like the proposed silicopathy, that artificial empathy and sympathy. Evolutionary and or developmentally, cognitive empathy after emotional empathy. The former includes the latter. And also sympathy after emotional cognitive empathy. The former, again, the former includes the latter. Therefore, some gradual changes, the gradual development from empathy to sympathy. So therefore, I like to propose a silicopathy, that artificial empathy and sympathy, that's capable of adaptive emotion regulation between empathy and sympathy, and no discrimination between in-group and out-group, or in global group. So this is the case for the artificial agent. So in case of the human agent, maybe we need some new ethics. The Peter Paul Hellbeck is a philosopher of the technology and aims to contribute to the philosophical theory, ethical reflection, and the practice of the design and innovation. Most influential book, his book, he mentions that the morality is not just in the human users of the technology, but in the interaction between us and our machines. So interaction is more important. In his book, he raised a question, how ethics can be practical in our most advanced society. The Michel Foucault focused on the virtual ethics by Julia Annas, and Peter Paul Verbeek extended this idea considering the most advanced technology as one of the main components of the proposed structure. Technology shapes our actions and world experience, and by doing so, its activity involved in the way we live. And he proposed his new ethics, not should be, but like to be, with the new technologies. So the psychography beyond the moral tribes, artificial agent has artificial pain. On the other hand, the human agent has some biological pain. The both sides, the shared part is empathy and sympathy. And the silicopathy involves the two parts of the empathy sympathy, and the new ethics involves interaction with the machines. And finally, we have some universal moral agent like this one. Okay, the summary and the future issues. The robot can discriminate between touch and pain. The memory of the pain is still big mystery. The constructive approaches are necessary to reveal and to realize it in robots. But based on the mirror neuron system development, robot may feel pain in others, the beginning of the empathy. The plural morality after showing the pain experience may emerge. Generalization and expansion of the proto-morality should be done through the meta-learning in different social contexts. New ethics is needed for symbiotic society with AI and robots who may have silicopathy, a big potential towards a universal moral agent. Okay, the special thanks to these guys, and thank you for your attention.